Hey, Katie. We have The Message in the Hollow Oak. We are on Chapter 17, Unexpected Plunge. The four searchers stared at the sign which had been stuck into the ground near the edge of the quarry. It can't be true, Ned said. If anyone had found the treasure, why would he throw it into the water? They all gazed below. The water was murky and full of lime. Art went over to examine the sign more closely. Presently, he remarked it looked newly painted. But by whom? Julie Ann asked. Nancy, what's your theory? I have two, the young detective answered. One is that the printing was done by Kit Cadle. He hoped that if I got this far, my search for the hollow oak would stop here. It means he must be somewhere in the vicinity. And what's your other theory? Art queried. That when Bob Snell was kidnapped, he was brought past here, and his abductors put the sign to fool us so we wouldn't go looking for their hideout. Nancy said she could not believe her search for Bob and for the hollow oak had ended in failure. I'm going on farther to investigate. But which way? Ned asked. While Nancy was thinking this over, the young people heard a crackling of twigs. Turning, they saw a huge dog bounding in their direction. Now he began to bark excitedly. He looks vicious, Julie Ann exclaimed. Everyone gazed around for a place to get out of his way. There was none. They had taken only a few steps when the great dog reached them. In a sudden lurch, he leaped on Nancy. She lost her balance, stumbled backward, and fell into the quarry. Julie Ann screamed. She and the boys watched, horror-stricken, as Nancy hit the water and disappeared. Ned started down the steep embankment while Art yanked a coil of wire from a pocket. Using it as a whip, he finally drove off the attacking dog. As it ran away, whimpering, Nancy's head appeared above the water. I'm sure the dog isn't, super hurt, just upset. Oh, Nancy, thank goodness, cried Julie Ann. She was near tears. Are you all right? Ned called down. Yes, Nancy replied. Is everyone okay? Where's the dog? Gone, Art answered. Good. As long as I'm here, Nancy said, treading water, I'm going to investigate the bottom and see if there's if by any chance there's a tree or part of one over here. She swam around, diving now and then, but finally came to the side. There's nothing important down here, she reported. Ned was at the edge of the water to assist her. She was a strange sight, dripping from head to foot with whitish water. At once, Ned pulled a handkerchief from his pocket. Let me wipe off your eyes. He daubed at them, then the rest of her face, and pulled her up the embankment, so he's kind of dabbing her eyes. Julie Ann had noticed a little stream of clear water a short distance from the quarry, and had hastened there to wet her own handkerchief. She ran back and applied it to Nancy's eyes, nose, and mouth, because I believe lime can be kind of corrosive. It can irritate your eyes, nose, mouth. Then she burst out, That dog ought to be tied up and never let loose. Nancy agreed, but said, We're probably trespassing on some farmer's property, and the dog was only protecting it for its master. Ned suggested they go home. Nancy, you should get out of those clothes and wash your hair as soon as possible. She agreed. Her sopping wet attire was not only uncomfortable, but gave her a strange whitish appearance. Because lime is, I think it's a type of mineral. It tends to it's white. But we'll come back here tomorrow and continue our search for Bob, she told the others. Meanwhile, Art had been walking around the edge of the quarry. Suddenly, his foot kicked something. Leaning over, he picked up a metal object. Look, he exclaimed. Here's one of Pierre Francois' lead plates. The group concluded it had probably fallen off a tree, then had been picked up and later dropped at this point. But who had dropped it, and when? There was no way of finding out the direction in which the arrow had once pointed. We'll have to search in all directions at once, Nancy said ruefully. Art put it into his pocket, and they all trekked back to the truck. On the way to the dig, Nancy reflected upon the friendliness and cooperation of Julie Ann, Art, and Ned. Outside of Nancy's accident, everything had been most cordial and polite. Now I won't have to worry any more about jealousy and tense moments, she told herself, smiling in relief. As the group stepped from the truck at the farmhouse, some of the girls were coming in from the dig. They stared at Nancy with her white hair and clothing. "What in the world happened to you?" asked one of them. Nancy laughed. "Believe it or not, I fell into a quarry pit, and now I'm going in for a good bath and shampoo, then wash these clothes." Bess, who had come from the kitchen, stared at her friend in disbelief. She had once offered to take care of Nancy's clothes. An hour later, Nancy emerged from the farmhouse in a clean pants outfit, with her hair back to its natural reddish-blonde color. Meeting Teresa, she told her about the sign and her suspicion that the kidnapper's hideout might be near the quarry. They were interrupted by George, who was just coming from the excavation. She was obviously excited. "See what I dug up!" she exclaimed, exhibiting a tray of sand in which there was a circle of tiny river pearls. "These were probably once a necklace," she explained. Teresa examined them. "This is an important find." Bess had come out of the house in time to hear George's remark. "You mean," she said, "that there was once a neck inside of those pearls?" Nancy and George laughed. George could not resist teasing her cousin. "That's right. The lady's head and neck were dug up first." "Ugh! How can you enjoy such gruesome things?" Bess remarked, and returned to the kitchen. That evening after dinner, the young people gathered inside the living room. It had grown chilly outside, and the logs in the fireplace were lighted. The farmhouse did not have a television set, but there was a good radio. "Let's see if we can get some good news," Teresa said. "I've been so engrossed here that it's high time I caught up with what's going on in the outside world." She turned on the set. The newscaster was telling about an earthquake in Peru and the resignation of a college president. A commercial followed. When it was finished, the announcer said, "This station has just received a message from a ham radio operator. It may be a hoax. We cannot guarantee its authenticity, but we give it to you in case you may know the person involved. The ham picked up the following broadcast. I'm Bob Snell. Repeat, I'm Bob Snell. I'm Will, but a prisoner at..." That was all the ham heard, the announcer concluded. There was another short commercial, then the regular newscast was continued. The young people in the farmhouse were electrified by what they had heard. "Oh, I hope they tell more," Nancy said excitedly. To the dismay of the group, the announcer did not mention the ham's message again. They assumed the police had picked it up and would investigate. Teresa spoke up. "This is both good news and bad news. It confirms our fears that Bob was kidnapped, but it's a good lead for the authorities to work on." "And for us, too," Nancy told herself with determination. "Ooh, so it looks like Bob is somewhere with a radio we managed to get on. I'll have to find out what's going on with that."